This video is brought to you by the Kickstarter for Mark Poole's Playmats. They are incredible, but more on that in a moment. It's been a hot minute since we had a cheating scandal in Magic the Gathering, but this weekend delivered. 4 seasons run 4 seasonal tournaments in Europe, in Bologna in Italy. I just want to shout them out quickly because their coverage is really good. Like, it's not perfect. Some of the commentators are phoning in from somewhere else remotely, but it's still very clear and you can watch clean Legacy and Modern gameplay with VODs over on their Twitch right now. I'd recommend it if you want to see gameplay of those formats. During round 2 of their Modern coverage, Biagio Rudicant played into Leonardo Magri, that's Living End versus Ruby Storm, and Biagio Rudicant cheated. He even tweeted this: undefeated into the top 8 of 4 tournaments Modern with Sultai Living End, trophy emoji. The deck is absolutely extreme devil emoji. Proud of the run, hungry for more, we don't chase the meta, we break it. Let's go fire emoji. And a load of tags of people that he wants to pay attention to his deck list and his developments in the meta game. The really funny thing is, it's not just the meta that he was breaking, it was the rules of Magic. That joke wasn't even mine, that was Lorenzo Mattei on Twitter. That was pretty good. I'm just gonna shout him out now. I'll unpack all of that in today's video and talk about the ramifications, the consequences for his actions. He fucked around and he found out. But first of all, you know who Mark Poole is. He's done some incredible artwork for Magic over the years, from Birds of Paradise to Ancestral Recall, right through to one of my favorite interpretations of the original Sol Ring art with the burning planetarium. And this Kickstarter, this project here, shows his growth as an artist, his journey over 30 years with Wizards of the Coast in the game. And the playmats available have iconic stuff from both his time in Alpha and Beta, right through to Double Masters with things like the Exploration. And there's more and more things being added with stretch goals too, including this incredible like sort of saga artwork for the Brothers War as a full-length table mat. All the pieces involve the original art by Mark being extended to be on the playmats. These mats have already proved incredibly popular because Mark is one of the most iconic artists in all of Magic. His work absolutely built the game as part of the texture of the legacy of the game. And as a little sneak peek at a coming stretch goal, there's going to be a 2-player 4 seasons of Urza's Tower playmat going up on the Kickstarter soon. If you're a fan of classic Magic, you cannot miss out on this Kickstarter. Link in the description below. Helps support Mark Poole and this channel. Rudicant finds himself on a mulligan to 6 against his opponent playing Ruby Storm, who starts with incredibly fast to turn 0 Gemstone Caverns, and thus has 2 mana on turn 1. At the end of his opponent's turn 1, he cracks his fetch land to go grab a Surveil land. Here comes the cheat, will you spot it? On his first search for the deck, he looks specifically for this card here, and that card goes to the bottom of his deck. He then finds the land he needs and puts it into play. He then proceeds to shuffle his deck, and if you look very closely, the top of his deck is not moving. He's shuffling the bottom portion, barring 1 or 2 cards at the top. He goes to Surveil. At this point, he knows what the card is. It's surprisingly the card that we saw overhead that he searched at the bottom of his library. That card then sits here as he thinks about the Surveil. A bit of theatrics, really. He puts it back on top, untaps for the turn, and draws it. That mystery card is Endurance, a card that looks to disrupt the graveyard for free when pitching a green card to it. It then dies and goes to the graveyard and becomes a body that can be brought back with the deck's titular card, Living End. This is not the only example of him cheating that people have discovered. I'll come more to his second one in the same match in a moment. Now, let's talk about some of the comedy in all of this. First of all, the AI dog-shitified news bot of Twitter that I saw when I went looking for the tweets surrounding this suggests that a Riftbound player was caught cheating multiple times. A player in a Riftbound tournament was accused of cheating 3 times in the same match by performing blatant shuffle cheats, yada yada yada. It was not a Riftbound tournament and the player was not a Riftbound player, although now that he's, spoiler alert, banned from Magic, look out for him at your local Riftbound or Lorcana event, am I right? It's just another example of how the AI and shitification of the internet is dog shit and we could just do with relying on human beings to do what we've always done. I guess if it's spending its time doing this with its feed, it's not spending its time making lurid pictures of people against their consent. That's not even true, is it? It can do both. God, I hate Twitter. Next up on the comedy slides, we've got Biagio Rudicant Cantone saying, sure, it would actually be very smart to cast a Vampiric Tutor for practically useless card. Let me explain this joke. This is Vampiric Tutor, a card that is very, very strong. To the point that it's banned in Legacy, a format much more high powered than the modern we're talking about now. It's 1 black mana, search library for a card, then put that card on top of your library, and you lose 2 life. It's instant speed as well, so you can do it in reaction to your opponents to get the thing you need, or you can get a combo piece, untap, draw it, and go off. He's arguing that it would be very silly to Vampiric Tutor for a useless card because although Vampiric Tutor is very strong, if you had a card you don't need or isn't good in the current circumstance and put it on top of your deck, it's gonna hurt you real bad. It's not gonna help your game plan. I'll talk more about the card he chose more in a moment. He says also if you'd watched all the matches, you would have seen I always ask my opponent. This is about deck cutting. One of the further parts of the cheat is not only the finding a specific card, pushing it to the bottom of your library, and then shuffling the whole thing apart from that bottom bit to then be flipped up and be the top of your library. That's the main cheat. But the other part is that you are obligated to, at this level of REL, of rules enforcement level, to offer your deck to your opponent to do a cut. Rudicant does not do that here, or at multiple instances throughout the match. It's really funny for him to say, like, watch more, because then when I watched more, he wasn't doing it. And thus, your opponent should be cutting you. That's the answer to all of this several cheating bullshit. I've done a whole video on this in the past. I'll link in the description below and the cards. But the thing is, if your opponent is like distracted, for example, they're checking their life totals or similar, which the Ruby Storm player says they were. Here's their response on Reddit. Hi everyone, I'm the Ruby player from the VOD. I've just now become aware of all this. I absolutely made the mistake of not cutting the deck, but it's my first big tournament after some time off, and my first ever feature match, so I was pretty excited and worked up. It didn't help that every time he did it, he didn't offer his library to be cut, and so while I was finishing some other action like checking the life totals on the tablet, or resolving his endurance ETB trigger, and then he goes on to explain a bit more about the game. This bit is not concrete because we can't really see exactly what his opponent's up to every time he fails to offer, so I don't want to put this into the record books as evidence, but it is still a little bit damning that there is this at least anecdotal conversation from someone else. Anecdotally, someone else on Twitter said that this happened against them or their friend in a matchup against Blue-White Control. Again, anecdotal people on Twitter, where it just so happened to be that the game-winning 2 cards, including Living End, end up on top of the deck after a shuffle, without offering the cut. Either way, you have to offer the cut so your opponent can mass shuffle you once or twice, or even just cut you half and half. And some people just tap the deck to represent that they trust you. Stop trusting people. Look, you can trust people that you really trust, like your close friends that you know aren't cheating because you're that close to them, but even people that you're quite familiar with at your local store and stuff, just cut them. This is a really big point I want to make, is that even if you trust them 100%, it's good practice to cut for people who you don't trust. And to be honest, when you're playing for money on the line, you shouldn't extend that trust to your opponent. You should just cut their deck. It avoids any of this stuff happening. That said, the people on social media right now saying he should have just cut the deck and it's his fault, it's victim blaming and it's bollocks. Like, the reality is one person cheated and the other person didn't take the measure to stop the cheat. The person cheating is way more at fault. They are the problem here, not the other person focusing on their game on a fucking feature match on camera. Cut them some slack. But the comedy hasn't finished. He also claims that endurance is bad, at least in this spot. He's saying this to basically suggest that he couldn't have possibly cheated. Why would he keep endurance there? Now, let's unpack that a little bit. Endurance is quite good against Ruby Storm. Let's have a look at a deck list. This is a deck list from the event. As you might see down here, there are 3 copies of Past in Flames. If you look at just a different version of the deck, not from the event, talk about stock lists, that's right, 3 copies of Past in Flames. Past in Flames gives each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard flashback. It allows the Ruby Storm decks to pop off or finish the game by making a load of mana and then replaying the cards in the bin to make more mana, gathering a storm count, and then rallying your opponent or grape shotting your opponent or similar. So Endurance is categorically good against a deck that has a spell that gives all your cards flashback. That's a really obvious state. Now, in another tweet, he said he didn't have a card to pitch to Endurance, which I can understand. The thing is, if you are Vampiric Tutoring things to the top of your deck without losing any life or paying any mana for said Vampiric Tutor, you can probably find a green card pretty easily, buddy. But also, he's not looking to play the Endurance then and there. He's looking to do it to stop the combo maybe in a turn's time where he can draw another green card. Just because he hasn't got a green card in hand right now doesn't make the Endurance bad. It's still a useful tool in the matchup. And on top of all of that, when he does this with the Endurance and puts it at the top of his deck, he surveils, remember? He surveils for a surveil land and looks at the Endurance for a bit and does some theatrics around whether or not he's going to keep the card there. If he didn't want the Endurance, he could have surveilled it into the bin, looking for a threat, a way to get Living End online, or just a force of negation, a supposedly much stronger card in the matchup according to his tweets. He does this one more time a little bit later on, where he finds a Deceit. Deceit being very good into combo decks, because you just play it for double black, you look at your opponent's hand and you remove one of the combo pieces, making their game plan significantly worse. So what are the ramifications of his actions? Four Seasons tweeted this today. The beauty of playing Magic is playing Magic. For us, this means competing whilst respecting the rules, your opponent, and all our registered players. Together with the judges, we reviewed the player's video, and we believe there is sufficient evidence to warrant all 2026 suspensions for Bellagio Cantone from our circuit. We also talk about this with Bo's team. I assume this is a team events in Europe. And also they agreed to implement the ban for all their events. This type of behavior is not good for the game or the Eternal community. And you know what? I applaud them reacting this fast and giving him a ban. Now there is a interesting topic here. Is a ban of 1 year, or in this case, as we're going into March, 9 to 10 months, is that enough? This guy clearly cheated twice on camera, and then supposedly, according to the anecdotal evidence of other people at the event, further in other rounds. And the question when someone cheats on camera on a feature match always asks me, or makes me ask, should I say, like, how much cheating were they doing off camera? This is insane. Like, I think it's great that they got the ban, especially like for them and the like associated team events. Teams, by the way, is normally where like 3 people on a team and you play 3 games of Magic, best of 3, one person. It costs 3 formats. Normally like standard, modern, and legacy is a common thing. Sometimes it's modern, legacy, and then like pauper if standard is a bad spot. That's a teams event. They're very cool. And I wonder if Wizards of the Coast will stop him competing in other events for the year, like the Wizards Play Network account hasn't tweeted about this at all. Not that it has to tweet to let us all know, but I do think it's interesting that he could just, skip across to another country, go to Amsterdam, for example, to play in the showcase that's coming up at the Magic Con there. We also need to take a moment to look at his apology/exit tweet. He was going to town trying to defend himself against the cheating accusations on Twitter and social medias, which you probably would even if you were innocent, right? I'm not going to say him trying to defend himself is damning. The fact that he was found guilty and kicked out of the circuit by Four Seasons is the damning part. I do trust people investigating this stuff. After the event at 4 tournaments, I decided to step away from Magic. I'm truly sorry for what happened and for the message it sent. It was never my intention, and I hope nothing like this happens again. Thanks for everything. I sincerely apologize and wish you all the best. This is a fucking confusing message, considering he was claiming he did not cheat and was really going to town with defending it, to the point of explaining that endurance is bad in the matchup, which it isn't. I'm truly sorry for what happened if the message it sent is more that I got caught more so than what it did. At no point did he say I'm sorry for cheating, or I'm sorry to my opponent, I'm sorry to anyone else in the event. Just that I'm sorry that it happened and for the message it sent. It was never my intention. I don't know, bro. You put a card to the top of your deck and then didn't shuffle it away during your searching with the fetch line. That's pretty intentional to me. And I hope like nothing like this happens again. Sure, that's completely within your power, and I guess it won't be happening for at least 10 months. The other point to think about when it comes to like the kicking out of someone for 8 to 10 months is that they can come back. We've seen this with Burton Cheaty multiple times before. Alex Bertoncini is one of the most prolific cheaters in Magic history, and he just keeps coming back because he's never banned permanently. This is why I think that only a 10-month ban might not be long enough. I personally do believe in some element of redemption for cheaters, that you can reform and get better and no longer do this. The problem is, like, where is the appropriate amount of time to ban someone out to A, make them want to seek redemption, but B, make it a like an actual deterrent to stop people cheating. Like, if you regularly shuffle cheat, your win rate goes up dramatically, as in the case of this guy. He went like 7-0. I doubt he'd go 7-0 if he wasn't casting multiple free Vampiric shooters. Fetchlands are already broken enough out and come with a line of text to get whatever you want in your next draw, which I guess is technically what like Fetchland into Land is. I guess it's not quite that, is it? If they're not disincentivized to cheat by giving them a really stark, harsh punishment when they do, people will do this to make money and steal prizes. Don't forget there are cash prizes for events all across the world when it comes to Magic. Hell, it could even just be like promo cards that end up selling for a lot of money. When you cheat, you aren't just cheating someone out of a win rate or whatever, you are cheating them out of literal prizing. And thus you are stealing, prizing and standing from the people below you that would have done better than you if you weren't cheating. Cheating is, in effect, literally stealing. So I'm not sure if a year's ban is enough, honestly. I'm not advocating for us to grab our pitchforks and demand he's banned for longer, but I think it's an interesting conversation to be had. Should cheaters be banned for 9 to 10 months, or should they get a harsher penalty to ensure that people don't do this shit? There needs to be consequences for these actions, which Four Seasons are doing. I'd argue they're not harsh enough to stop people doing more of it. So what's the takeaways from this? I guess we can have that conversation around what is enough time to deter people, but also cut your opponent's deck. Don't just let them not do that. And the thing is, like, on a feature match, your energy is on other things. You're probably really focusing on yourself so you don't make mistakes and get called a cheater. There's a lot of that. Playing Magic on camera is a lot harder than playing Magic off camera. I can guarantee you that. But just generally get into the habit of cutting your opponent's deck. If they don't offer it to you, ask to do it. I was doing it at pre-release, Maybe that's a bit try hard, but I think it's the right thing to do because people will try and scam you at pre-releases too, and it's just a good habit, and you should encourage your opponents like pre-releases do it to you as well. Cutting card decks in any form of card gaming is good, actually, because at the very least, it minimizes the points at which someone can cheat you. I've been Vince, also PleasantKenobi on the internet. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget, if you're looking to pick up a Mark Poole Playmat from his Kickstarter, link in the description below. Ta-ta for now, dickheads. Ta-ta for now.